It is week 7 of,
Wow, already?
I know, huh? It's week 7, episode 7 of No More Shame. And if you're new to this channel and you're new to Bobby Parrish and myself, Athena Moberg, we are advocates and survivors of childhood sexual abuse as well as other forms of abuse. And we are here for you. We are answering questions that you have, and we are here as a source of support for you every single week. We put out a new hour-long Google Hangout and video that goes over to YouTube that tackles the difficult topics of adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse and the different symptoms. And I want to welcome, before I introduce you to my amazing partner, Bobby Parrish, I want to welcome our iTunes subscribers, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and if you're finding us on Roku. We always would love it if you would tweet us or send us a message of some sort, which we will post all of our information in the middle of this broadcast. And just let us know how you found us and let us know how we can add value to you. Let us know topics that you would like us to cover. And that is why we're even tackling this tough topic tonight, which is, Bobby?
Tonight we're going to talk about survivors and faith. This is such a hard topic for a lot of reasons, and primarily because I think that as human beings we're hardwired to want to come to some sort of a conclusion about why we exist, why things happen, what does all of this mean, and faith seems to be a system of beliefs that does this for a lot of people. And so faith becomes an integral part of many people's lives, and then unfortunately it becomes a part of our abuse, and our abusers use it to excuse and justify what they do. So we talked about this last night in chat, Athena, and people talked about some horrible things that their abusers had said or done to justify why they abused them. People talked about, one woman said that her abuser told her that he was Jesus Christ incarnate. Was that it? Do you remember that?
I believe it was either Jesus Christ incarnate or that Jesus told him to do those things.
Right. And and I think something we have to remember, that for us as adults to look at those things, we go, oh, that can't obviously be true. You have to remember that these are children that are hearing these things, and they're listening to these things with a child's mind that is not fully developed, not fully able to evaluate a statement for truth or falsehood. And often these statements are coming to us from our abuser is someone that we trust. It's someone that we know, and when they tell us something, we're incredibly likely to believe it. And so if you're listening and you're thinking, well, any child should know that that's not Jesus Christ, they're a child and they're hearing this from someone that they trust. And so when we tell them as an authority figure, when they tell them things, children are highly likely to believe them, especially when it's combined with the horrible fear and shame that comes from abuse. Athena, what were some other things that people talked about last night?
Well, there was some quite lively discussion, and I believe that it was either Margaret or one of our other Twitter followers that was saying something like, "Holy fast chat, Batman," or whatever.
It was a lively chat. It was hard to keep up with. It was definitely one of our most fast flowing. Like I talk about people, when I talk about Twitter chats, it's like herding cats. Everybody's saying their thing, and we're all trying to keep them in the middle and keep everybody connected and flowing. And
okay, so if you're tuning in and you're listening to us and you're like, what is this chat thing that they are talking about? On every single Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, there is a chat on Twitter, if you love the Twitterverse like we do. You log on to twitter.com, you go to the search bar, and you type in hashtag or the pound sign or tic-tac-toe if you don't know what those are, and type in the words with no spaces, sex, abuse chat. And you will find a feed where we are all typing back and forth to one another discussing the
Right.
topic of sexual abuse. And that's every single
Right.
Tuesday. And that was
Right.
founded by our dear friend and awesome human, Rachel Thompson and Bobby Parrish. And what we do is we have a topic every week, which we carry over onto Wednesday, No More Shame TV,
Right.
which you are watching right now or
Right.
listening to. And so here we are, everybody's typing back and forth, and everybody is putting in their 2 cents or answering questions
Right.
or
Right.
comforting one another.
Exactly.
I love the support and the comfort that goes on in our chats. And
Yeah.
it was the topic of faith and how faith has been used. And what I would like to do right now, Bobby, if that's
Mhm.
okay, because you're amazing, Bobby has this amazing one page that
Yes.
as every single week we have a dedicated one page for the topic that we discuss, and you can find that by going to nomoreshameproject.com/downloadables. Tonight's topic is survivors, abuse, and faith.
Yes. Can you
Touchy,
see it
touchy
okay,
subject.
Athena?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
good.
perfect. Oh, wait, can you make it bigger? Make it bigger.
I don't know how to make it bigger.
It looks
How do you
awesome.
make it bigger?
Either way, it looks awesome. You
Oh,
can see
wait.
it.
Hang on. Oh,
Oh,
no. Is that right? Is that what you meant?
yeah. Well, no, never mind. You're so techie. I said make it bigger, and you're like, yeah, let's make it full page. Yeah, almost. So if you're there, that's perfect. That's perfect because people can still read it. Okay.
See, my strength, people, is coaching and therapy, not tech.
No, but you made it bigger, like
did.
long ways, but not wide way. I think what I meant was, oh, I want it to be wider, like I want it to be super huge. So anyway, if you're just tuning in, we are talking about survivors of sexual abuse and faith, as in
Yes.
faith in a higher power, faith that is discussed or used to justify the actions of an abuser. And I have to say that this awesome one page, I'm going to be quiet for a moment and let Bobby talk so y'all can see the one page. It covers a lot of ground, and I have to say that I was massively triggered into a post-traumatic stress disorder episode today, which led me into a panic attack, and it's because I was having memories of my abuser as it pertains to this topic, which is faith. Go for it, Bobby. Take it away.
Yeah. And it's a huge one, and it's hard to summarize it into one page, but we did our best because our commitment to you is that we're going to provide you with a takeaway every week, one sheet, one page of information and tips on how to deal with this, and that's why we condense them down. Print them out, stick them in a folder, stick them in a binder, whatever you want to do, and keep them at hand when you encounter things in your recovery that you need information about. If you have a loved one who is a survivor, you're not a survivor yourself, do the same thing. Print them out. Use these as resource. When your survivor is struggling with a particular topic, these are all excellent resources. And here are some examples of things that we have had clients talk to us about in terms of how abuse and faith was used against them during the period of their abuse. I told my mother about what my father had done and asked her to leave him. She said she couldn't because divorce was against our religion. She said I should stay away from him and keep quiet. Now look how she put the onus of taking responsibility for the abuse on the child and away from the father. The next one, anytime I got angry at my mother for what she was doing, my grandmother would beat me. She said I was disobeying the commandment that I honor my father and my mother. I struggled with something kind of similar to this when I was a child. I was told that God gave us difficult things. God caused suffering to come into our lives in order to make us better people. It was the example of we come into this world like a rock, and God chisels us down until we're in the shape of a diamond. And so when bad things are happening to us, when difficult things are happening, it's because God is chipping away our rough edges. And that God only does this. Now, this was the kicker. God only does this to people that he really cares about, because you're going to have some great purpose in life. So if God didn't love you, he wouldn't bring suffering into your life. And
Bobby,
huh?
I just wanted to mention something super duper quick, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So I would like to mention on this topic of how these particular people used scripture to justify their abuse. And not only did
Yeah.
they use scripture out of context, but they defamed the name of God. If you're a believer, if you believe in God, if you have a higher power, then this should irk you or really just tug at you in a certain area. Right now it's hitting me right around my belly button, like just deep in my gut, because I do know my Bible. I read my Bible every day. I am a believer. I do believe in God. And I do know that there are scriptures in the Word
Yes.
that have been taken out of context in what it is that you just said, that
Right.
go along with the whole of Scripture, that talk about certain tragedies that happen or certain persecutions that we have in our life, like suffering for our faith, like people that are happening right now with the ISIS situation over in Israel and Gaza and all of that, like the current event that's going on right now. People are actually dying because they are being open with their faith. Now, that is something that not like God is killing these people, but I understand Scripture in the way that I interpret it is that when horrible things happen in our lives, we can trust that if we survive that situation, if we are persecuted in a situation, we actually survive, even though the people that are abusing us wanted to beat us down and harm us and yank us down from a good um, goal that we were going to reach. I believe personally what Scripture is trying to say is that even though it was meant for evil by these people that were hurting me personally or you, that God is going to turn that around and he is going to somehow use that situation and he's going to supernaturally like move heaven and earth to make good things happen and to bring out the good in that situation if there is one. And I'm a living example of that with my abuse, because now I get to help other people and live out my life's purpose, which I'm super excited about. Not like I'm glad I got abused, but anyway, yes.
Exactly.
It makes me angry that people use scripture and twist it and take it out of context to make excuses to sexually abuse other people. I just feel that it's really, really wrong.
No, I agree. But because I was a child and I didn't know any better, I trusted that's what they meant, and I trusted that they were telling me that God was making me suffer because he loved me.
Yeah.
And I felt so disobedient. I felt like the worst child in the world, because I didn't want, if that's what God's love meant, I didn't want God's love. And furthermore, I did want God's love, but I didn't want to suffer anymore, so that must make me a bad person.
Yeah.
And I felt like the worst. I felt like that the badness was in me, and that's God was trying to chip it out of me with a. I had visions of my head of God with, I don't even know what that's called, a little, maybe an anvil and a hammer or something, or
Like a
trying to
chisel
chisel.
or something?
Yeah, trying to chisel the badness out of me because I didn't want him to love me and cause me to suffer. Now, yeah, that's so contorted, but that's the point, is that our abusers and our families can use faith to contort. If they contort it and they turn it around to justify what they're doing. We're not at all saying to you that this is what faith is about. Athena and I are strong believers that faith is not about harm. Faith is about love. First, foremost, and always. It's about love for yourself, love for your higher power, love for all fellow men, period. It's not about harm. It's not about causing anyone to suffer.
Yeah.
So we're not saying that, but we're saying this is what abusers do. This is what families do. They contort in order to justify and those are the kinds of things that then play havoc with our minds, and they lead us to have a dysfunctional faith system, or they lead us to just say, you know what, if that's what faith is all about, I'm not having anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And then we're left without having that tool to use in our recovery if we choose to. So let's look at a few of these more examples, and then we'll look at some tips and things that Athena and I have talked about that we feel very strongly that you should know about faith. And then I want to leave Athena some time to talk about how she was triggered and what was going on in her mind, because I think it's really important. Athena and I are also big believers in the fact that we want to be very vulnerable and transparent with you. We want you to understand that we are by no means at the end of our recovery journeys. We're still getting there, and if we can share with you where we might still be struggling, then we can better help you when you get to those points of struggle. So let's take a look at these examples. The nuns told me that God, see, this is mine. The nuns told me that God caused us to suffer because he was trying to make us stronger. So I knew the abuse was his way of making me a better person. I felt guilty because I didn't want the abuse to continue. I must be a bad person. And then my abuser told me that God told her it was okay to show me her love like she did. Okay. All of these examples show ways that our abusers and family use faith to silence or damage us. They constrict us, made us question our belief systems, a punishable offense, and even proposed the idea that God wanted the abuse to happen. In order to undo that damage, we may choose to spend part of our recovery exploring and examining faith issues. Now, by faith issues, we don't at all mean that you have to sit down and pick apart a particular faith tradition. Protestantism, Catholicism, even a broad-based Christianity, or perhaps you're Muslim, or you come from a faith tradition from the Eastern philosophies. What we mean is just faith in general, faith in a higher power. And if you want to narrow that down to a particular faith tradition, absolutely. But faith, compassion, trust, all of those spiritual concepts, it doesn't have to be a faith tradition. So if you want to declare yourself spiritual, but not necessarily belonging to a particular religious tradition, religious faith system, that's okay. So let's look at these tips really quick here.
Hey, Bobby.
Yes. Jump in here.
I wanted to mention just the one up above there that talked about, let's see, it mentions that she said that God told her it was okay to show her love to me that way.
Right.
And that does bring up a good point. I do want to make very, very clear that abusers are not always male.
Yep.
And that survivors are not always females.
There you go.
And I know that the numbers are shocking every time we bring it up, but I believe the numbers right now, as recent as 2013, are 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys.
Yep,
1 in 4, 1 in 6. If you're standing in a room with 6 people, if there's a man in that group, there's a chance that if there are other men, that one of them is that he was sexually abused before the age of 18. And that's non-consensual intimacy with anyone regardless. That is anything that is non-consensual regardless is abuse. It doesn't matter if there wasn't intercourse, if there wasn't this, it was only touching, it was this, it was other, it doesn't matter. Abuse is abuse is abuse. And it just as easily could be a male as it is a female, and the abuser can just as easily be a female. And I just wanted to be very, very clear.
Yeah, exactly. I wrote an article this week about things that we can learn from the Stephen Collins case. He's the actor who was the the minister and the father in the Seventh Heavens series. And he had some tapes leaked to the press recently where he confessed to several episodes of exposure and touch with young girls between the ages of, I believe, 12 and 15. Approximately 40 years ago he did this, but he confessed to them in 2012. And the point I was trying to make is that we have this stereotype in our head that abusers are, this scruffy, somewhat dumpy, middle-aged man who lives in his mother's basement and doesn't hold a job and survives on Hot Pockets and sits on a bench in the park for fun, leering at the neighborhood children. But the reality is that 90% of children know their abuser. It's their coach, it's their teacher, it's even the neighborhood lady on the corner of the block who always seems to have an open door and chocolate chip cookies for every child that wanders by. So we have to get these stereotypes out of our head. It can be anyone. Male, female, young, old. Yep.
Thank you for bringing that up. I just definitely feel strongly. I really want our listeners that are tuning in right now, if you're just tuning in, this is No More Shame, and we are talking about survivors of sexual abuse. The topic tonight is abuse, when you're a survivor of sexual abuse or other type of abuse, and faith, and how faith was used to silence you or to justify the actions of your abuser or to keep you silent over a long period of time. And we are going through some tips right now, and then we are going to transition into a conversational part of our time here on our episode where we discuss how this particular topic affected us and what we can do to prepare when things come up during our recovery journey. So
you bet.
Yeah, I'm going to turn it back over to Bobby here.
Okay. And that's what I kind of already touched on. A healthy faith, spirituality, or belief system does not inflict damage. A healthy faith, spirituality, or belief system is about learning to love and accept ourselves, our higher power. We don't need to accept our higher power, but and all other human beings. That's what it's about. It's not about inflicting damage on anyone. So if anyone ever uses their faith to explain why it's okay for them to cause you damage, know that that is not the healthy faith or spirituality or belief system. A healthy faith, spirituality, or belief system does not condemn questions, but rather welcomes them. And that other one, we need to bump that one down.
Oops.
That's okay. No. Are you kidding? That's okay. And this was something that I struggled with as a child, as I was taught that a good believer doesn't ask questions. And in fact, if you ask questions, that means you are therefore a bad believer. Oh, and you don't even have to ask them out loud, Athena, because if you just think of them in your head, God hears them and you have already sinned. You couldn't win. There was no way to win.
Yeah, it's interesting the way people twist things around.
Isn't it? Oh my goodness. The next one, you have the right to change faith traditions at any time. So if you were raised in a particular faith tradition that doesn't feel healthy to you anymore, you can change. Your family may not like it, but you can. You have that right. It is within your right, and you have the power to do that. You have the right to explore other faith traditions, including those considered non-traditional here in the Western world. You don't have to convert. You don't have to embrace anything. It's okay just to explore. Go to the library, go to the big store, do an online search, see what's out there.
I wanted to encourage people that if they are in search of some sort of faith, it is quite possible that we have a huge contingency of people that are atheists, and they perhaps the reason they are atheists to this day is because faith was used to justify abuse or to silence them or to manipulate them into some sort of behavior. So I would just encourage anyone listening, if you do have any type of faith in place in your life of anything that's bigger than you, and you believe in prayer or meditation, I would encourage you, write this down if you need to, make a note to yourself or what have you. Pray or meditate or ask for wisdom on what it is that you should do that would be a safe faith for you. And again, you know, Bobby and I have already shared with you, we are rock solid in our faith. We have our belief system that we trust in, and if there's a struggle that we're having due to some past experiences from our child, we're able to sort of pause and go, this doesn't line up with what I know to be true. This doesn't feel safe. I want to seek the truth here. And you really can give yourself permission. No one is telling you what to do. Seek the truth and seek it with all that you are. And we just encourage that. Ask questions. Ask a million questions until you feel comfortable with the belief system that you are choosing. And we're here if you have questions as well. But I just want to encourage people to really meditate or pray or seek out truth so that you have that peace in you with the choices that you've made.
And that flows right into the next one, which is that we say you have the right to ask questions about beliefs or concepts that confuse you or that you want clarified. When I grew up, my family was Catholic. When I grew up, I left the Catholic faith, and I wandered for probably a good decade amongst probably 6 or 7 different Protestant denominations. I looked into Eastern faith traditions. I just wandered throughout and looked and searched. I went to seminary. I looked all over until I found answers that felt that I knew were my truth, that promoted love for me. And they're my answers. But Athena and I keep telling all the survivors that your recovery is under your power. You didn't have power when you were a child, when you were abused, but you have power now. Your recovery is under your power. So feel the permission to look for answers and to look for your truth. And we are certainly not here to tell you what the truth is. Only you are going to know what's the truth for you. And that flows really well into having doubts about your faith or having your faith shaken by your abuse does not make you a weak or bad believer. It makes you human. Okay? And any higher power that you choose to follow, I promise, is big enough to take questions. And if someone in your faith tradition tells you that your higher power doesn't like questions, that should be a red flag. And then you have the right to declare yourself any faith you choose, including spiritual but not religious, agnostic, or atheistic. None of us, Athena and I, are not here to judge, and we're not here to recommend, and we're not here to push any kind of faith system. You have to come to whatever decisions you feel comfortable with that is your truth in your time. So we respect you, we trust your judgment, and we're here to support you in any way that you need our support.
Absolutely.
Hey, there you are.
I'm here. I love turning it over to you, though. It makes it so easy. I just get to sit here. In fact, I was going through the Twitter feed, and we have a couple people on with us, and they're watching us live, and we're getting some tweets, and I just want to give a shout out to Margaret and Jack and Kimmy and Joe. I'm not sure if you're there, but we just want to just give a shout out to you guys, and any of our listeners or viewers that are in South Africa or in Europe, or other parts of the United States. We just want to
Yeah.
give you a shout out and just tell you how happy we are that you're here, and um, we're just excited. We're excited to be sharing this journey of recovery with you and to be providing you with tools that are practical and very necessary in every way, shape, and form, whether that be an audio download that you may be listening to or videos that you may be watching. And if you are tuning in and you have found us on Roku, would you please send us a tweet or an email or something and let us know? And we're just excited you're here. And tonight's topic is survivors, abuse, and faith. And
Yeah.
the way faith is used to justify trying to keep you silent from speaking up about your abuse, or
Yeah.
perhaps um, perpetuating the dysfunction of keeping that cycle of silence going, or
Hmm.
using faith to convince you that what God would want from you is to obey and not speak up. And there's just all kinds of twisted and contorted stuff going on, what people do in the name of religion or higher power or God or Jesus
Right.
or what have you. And it's just atrocious, in my opinion. And Bobby, how do you feel
Hmm.
about the whole thing?
I struggled with this one for a very long time. In fact, I'm sorry, I'm squirming here and making my screen
Oh,
wiggle.
there you go.
um, about 15 years ago, I wrote a book, and that was really the beginning of the healthy part of my faith journey. And the book is called Create Your Personal Sacred Text. And it was about my journey through the different religions to try and find the truth that fit my faith. And I go through the book and I outline all the different sacred texts of all the different religions. And it's remarkable the similar lessons that they have in terms of the golden rule and love. But anyway, and so that was the place that I was able to kind of jettison a lot of that baggage from my childhood and really start to come to a place of embracing a healthy faith. But I know that for some people, it's still a struggle. It's still painful. It's still a source of a great deal of shame, and it's still very triggering. And I
Oh
know
yeah.
last night, Athena, that it was very triggering for you. And so I want to give you a chance to talk about what happened for you, and so that we can, and again, we really want to be so transparent with our readers, our listeners, people who are watching, that Athena and I still struggle. I'd love to be able to say that all my struggles are behind me, that my PTSD is in remission, my depression is in remission. I am just one happy, cheery bunny hopping through life. But that's not the way that my life is. And so we want to share that with you, and we want to let you know what we still struggle with and where those pinch points come, so that we can let you know, one, that you're not alone in your struggles, and two, that as we struggle, we learn, and we want to pass what we learn on to you. So given that, I'm going to let Athena talk and share with you what she's been going through, because it's very real in the moment, very raw. So let me just real quick issue a quick trigger warning that some of the things that Athena is going to talk about, if she so chooses, are difficult. And so practice really good self-care. And if you need to shut the tape off or walk away from the video for a bit, whatever you need to do to take care of yourself, we encourage. So Ms. Athena, talk to us about what happened for you last night and what's happened for you today.
Okay. I am definitely glad that you gave them the little precursor and the trigger warning. And just a side note, I want to welcome a new follower and possible watcher right now. Her name is Denise Gartrell, and she's in Florida. So welcome, Denise. We want to give you a little shout out. And so last night during chat, and again, if you're just tuning in, we're talking about abuse, survivors, and faith. And we have a weekly Twitter chat every single Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, that was started by Bobby Parrish and Rachel Thompson, who's best-selling, award-winning author of Broken Pieces, as well as 2 other awesome books that are super funny. Broken Pieces, not funny. Other 2 books, funny. That's every Tuesday, and it is a Twitter chat, twitter.com. Search for sex abuse chat with a hashtag.
Yep.
So we were tweeting along and having our normal weekly Twitter chat that I've been participating in since I found the chat, just stumbled across it when I happened to be going through a situation in my PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, from my childhood sexual abuse. I've been participating since January. Last night was probably one of the more triggering times for me. I very transparently shared in our Twitter chat, which I had shared once before. This is the second time we've been discussing faith, so it's quite the touchy subject, popular topic. People are really eager to share what it is that this thing that they call faith and what their belief system is and how it was used to perpetuate their abuse. So I was thinking that I was fine, sort of breathing my way through what could have been a pretty difficult PTSD episode for me, which tightness in my chest, dry mouth, inability to breathe, upset stomach, dizziness, spinning, unable to, pretty much debilitating. I wasn't having any type of audible hallucinations or anything, but that has happened previously, which has never happened again. It had only happened twice about a year ago. So I was pretty triggered in this topic of faith because I was reminded of my Catholic upbringing. And as I've mentioned before on our episodes, my abusers professed to be very religious, God's little soldiers, holy statues everywhere, holy water. That's what the house looked like. They were what God would want. The word God was used a lot in my home. However, the family members that were in my home were the people that were abusing me the most, and their friends and loved ones were abusing me as well. And so I was remembering this one particular time. Again, trigger warning, please take care of yourself and contact RAINN, RAINN, .org if this triggers you. I was reminded of a specific time when I was left with a family member, and I remember trying to get away from this family member so that they wouldn't abuse me anymore, so there wouldn't be any physical abuse or sexual abuse or verbal or emotional or any type of manipulation. I just remember trying to wiggle my way out of that situation and sort of manipulate my way into, I need to go to the bathroom, or I need to do this. And I remember going in and hiding amongst the holy statues in my home and drinking holy water, begging God to cleanse me and make me not bad enough, just take away the bad so that this abuse wouldn't happen to me anymore, so that the sexual abuse wouldn't happen, so that the touching wouldn't happen, so the physical abuse, the yelling, the screaming, the manipulation. There was not always food in the home. There was alcohol, drugs, a lot of violence. And I specifically remember hiding amongst the holy statues, drinking holy water, begging God to cleanse me because I was sure that it was my fault, that that's what was happening. I was very, very, very young at the time, but that is my earliest memory of faith or belief system or God or anything. And it was right around the time of my first communion, which I should actually grab a picture and show you all a picture of me on the day of my first communion and show you what I look like. Bobby, I think I might actually do that. I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm
Okay.
going to step away. I'm going to grab a picture of me on the day of my first. I ran across this picture last week, actually, which is probably why I was triggered. I didn't realize that that's what was going to happen, but it did. But I'm going to be right back.
Okay.
And
I'll
hand this
take it
over to you.
over. Okay.
Awesome.
We talked about this last night in chat, and so I want to bring this up. The concept of hypocrisy is so triggering for many survivors because we lived in homes where our abusers professed to be strong believers, or we even had a nun in my family, and yet the way that they behaved was not congruent with what we would feel to be the way God would want people to be act. And so I become very triggered as an adult by hypocrisy. People who proclaim to be strong believers in their faith, but in reality their actions do not mesh up at all with the beliefs that they profess, no matter what their beliefs are, whether they are Christian, Muslim, of an Eastern faith tradition, whatever they are. And so if you too are triggered by the concept of hypocrisy, whether it's hypocrisy in religion or hypocrisy in any kind of way, know that you aren't alone. And that's something that was really heavy for Athena last night, that was very triggering.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Was I loud? Was I loud? Did I hurt your ears?
No, I'm getting some really weird feedback.
Oh goodness! I hope the broadcast is not shutting down on us like it does every other week, Bobby. I'm so sorry that I hurt your ears.
No, that's okay. Show me your picture.
So I've never showed you this picture before, I don't think, and I wanted to share it. If you're tuning into iTunes or Stitcher, iHeartRadio or SoundCloud, then you got to go on YouTube and look up this episode so you can see the picture. But this is a picture of me on my first communion as I was talking about being triggered last night.
Look at that. Now see, if you look at that, you think there is the perfect, that family must be, you know, look at how she's dressed. You're dressed in such the typical first communion outfit. It's just, wow, look at that.
Yeah. This is me in all of my super excited about going to my first communion. Apparently I wasn't behaving and I wasn't on time, and my hand got slammed in that car door right there where my finger is. It was a big white car with a very heavy door, and my finger had gotten slammed in that door, and that was a perfect time for them to take a photograph of me because I was dressed so beautifully. So, yeah.
Wait, did they slam your finger in the door on purpose?
Oh, no. It was probably an accident. I just was doing something wrong, of course. Who knows?
Oh, okay.
But I'm just always so puzzled as to why that was a perfect moment to take a photograph of me when I was bawling my eyes out because my hand had just been smashed in the door, and my fingernail was deformed for about 5 or 6 years after that, and took a really long time for that to heal. And we can talk about my whole fingernail issues and the things that were done to me when I was younger regarding my fingernails a whole nother time. But I was just extremely triggered last night because I was remembering the time in my life when I was convinced, I was told that I was bad and that I was the reason for so much problems, etc., hiding amongst the holy statues of my very holy family and my very religious, awesome, you know, that's what they were about. Lots of beads and prayers and holy statues and so forth. But I do remember drinking holy water, just begging and crying and just praying that God would use it to cleanse me, because I must have been so bad. So I honestly thought that it would make it better, though. I did think that drinking the holy water was going to make it better.
Well, we were told that it would. We were told that the holy water, I mean, every time we went into church, you dipped your fingers in the holy water and blessed yourself in order to make yourself acceptable to come into church and, you know, and be blessed.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it was pretty triggering for me last night, and I really had a difficult time sleeping. Have not been sleeping very well lately. I've been having a lot of memories that have been brought to the surface regarding my childhood abuse, not just sexual abuse. Usually, like we talked about before, sexual abuse doesn't usually just come on its own. It's
No.
usually surrounded with quite a few other flavors of abuse, whether it be emotional, verbal, physical, neglect. Yeah.
Right.
So I wanted to let you guys know that it was a very difficult time for me being triggered, and no one ever really just arrives at recovery. It's not always an overnight process. I do know people that have recovered from a situation and never had memories again, and everything was completely fine. And that's the story they have, and it's just a overnight healing, so to speak. And that's fantastic for them. I will continue to pray for that type of healing, but in the meantime, I'm going to use every single moment that I am triggered beyond all get out to use it as an example to show you guys, hey, you're not alone, and no one's above post-traumatic stress disorder. No one's above having memories haunt them during the daytime or interrupt their sleep patterns or have nightmares, etc. Those things happen sometimes, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
No.
It doesn't mean you need to have bigger faith. It doesn't mean you just need to pray more or drink more holy water or bless yourself more or whatever it might be. I just need you to know that that's not the case, and that you have complete unconditional love and acceptance from the groups that Bobby and I are a part of, and the groups that we have started as well. And if you are struggling from anything in your recovery, whether it be your abuser, we just had a very dear friend of ours in a confidential group that we are a part of. A few weeks ago, we did an entire episode or an hour on when your abuser dies.
Yeah.
And that just so happened to pop up a week or two later. One of our very dear friends had an abuser, her main abuser, pass away. And it's such a flooding of emotions. And then, of course, talking about faith. And next week, we are tackling forgiveness.
Yeah. We wanted to do faith first.
Oh, yeah. I think we needed to do faith first. Because, honestly, we're going to talk about things such as, what is forgiveness? What does forgiveness mean? Does forgiveness mean that what was done to us was okay and acceptable? Does it mean that we have to trust those people again? Does it mean that we need to be in a relationship with them? Well, if you're a good Christian, you would forgive, and et cetera, and the list goes on. And I am not a proponent of holding on to a root of bitterness and letting unforgiveness take over your life. Or as our dear friend Kimmy always says, she doesn't want her abuser to live rent-free in her head. And I just love that visual. I'm a very visual learner.
Yeah.
And I do forgive my abusers. And as I've shared with one of my colleagues, Megan Tangen, who has an awesome YouTube channel, by the way, you should check her out. I believe it's called In the Lab, and it's on iTunes as well. I've shared with her in an interview with her that it's not just sometimes about forgiving. It's not just a one and done sort of a deal. Check that off my list. I forgave my abusers. Woo! It's not always like that. Sometimes you have to re-forgive, and new things pop up, and you have to re-forgive. You just have to continue to surrender that and go, you know what? I matter, and my peace and my quality of life matters, and I'm not going to allow that person to torment me and live rent-free in my head, as Kimmy would say. I'm going to choose to forgive even though I don't want to, because eventually, in my situation, I'm living proof. Once I chose to forgive my multiple abusers, the feelings followed. I chose to forgive, and then I really felt that release. I really felt the burden being lifted of that bitterness and that desire to punish. If you have a desire to punish someone with anything regarding your abuse, chances are there's a root of bitterness, and you have a choice if you want to choose to forgive. Again, we all have a free will choice regarding faith, regarding forgiveness. We all have free will choice. So this is your choice, whatever you want to do. I choose to forgive because I feel that it's what is in line with my core beliefs, what I know to be true about myself and about my higher power. And that is not necessarily what everyone else is going to choose.
No, absolutely.
No,
And
they might not.
right. And forgiveness is not everyone believes forgiveness is an issue of faith. For some people, it's just an issue of you wronged me and I don't hold it against you anymore. So I want people to understand that even though we're prefacing a discussion of forgiveness with a discussion of faith, that if those two are not separated for you, that's okay. And we're not insisting in any way that you put those two together. We're not insisting that you forgive your abusers. If you're not there, if you're never going to be there, if you don't believe in forgiveness, that's your choice. This is your journey. You have the power to do that. But we want to discuss the topic because it is something that is so relevant for many survivors. And we're not here to tell you what to do. We're here to tell you these are your options. This is what forgiveness is about. These are your options. And as unbiased a source of information, that's what we want to be. We want it to be as unbiased a source of information as possible so you can make healthy choices for you. And so that's what next week is going to be. We're going to talk about what forgiveness is, what forgiveness is not. Like we talked about, Athena, you made just some absolutely fantastic points last night, that forgiveness does not equal reconciliation. So just because I forgive my abuser does not mean that I then open the door and say, hey ho, come on back into my life. No, that's not what that means. Those two are not intertwined.
Oh no, they're not synonymous of one another. Forgiveness does not equal reconciliation, and shout out to Jack, forgiveness does not equal trust.
Right.
Just because you forgive someone for something that they have done to you or a loved one, perhaps you're a family member of an abuse survivor and you're watching this series and you're like, who are these people talking about abuse every week? You know, you don't have to trust the people that abused your family member or abused you, and you don't have to be reconciled to them. You don't have to be in relationship with them. You just don't. It is your choice. And so, yeah, we're going to talk, and we're going to talk about some stuff that is pretty heavy next week. I know that it sounds like a huge buildup, et cetera, but I do know that the topic of forgiveness is a super duper duper hot topic right about now. And we do want to stress that we're not telling you that forgiveness is for you, that you have to choose to forgive. That's what you must do in order for your recovery to be proper or whatever, or complete. What we are saying is we want you to know all the options that become available, because more times than I can count have I been having a discussion with another survivor, whether it's in chat or on Skype or here on our Google Hangouts that are going to be on YouTube of this podcast. I've literally paused and said to myself, I have never thought that thought before. I didn't even know that was a choice. I didn't even know that was an option.
Right.
And that's what we want to make sure that you have. Is
exactly.
We want to fill up your tool belt for your recovery.
Right. That's right. So you make the choice. We're not here to make the choices for you. Let's really quick put up the information on how people can contact us.
Yeah.
Because we
go ahead and read that. You can read it out loud. I'm going to turn it to you because otherwise they won't be able to see it. And I really want our listeners on iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud and iHeartRadio, and even people that may be just listening to a YouTube. Just go ahead and maybe read it all out loud to them.
Absolutely. And we want to connect with you. That's why we're here. We do these chats, these hangouts. We have support groups, private, secret support groups that are available to you. All of this is to provide you with the resources, support, encouragement that you need in your recovery. Between the two of us, Athena and I have 50 years of experience in recovery and in helping other survivors in their recovery. Sometimes we didn't get the best help. We didn't get the best information. But what we have done is we have put together and we have condensed and culled out the bad stuff and just put together what we feel is the best information, education, and guidance that we can give to make available to you so that hopefully your recovery is simpler and it's faster. So please connect with us on Twitter. You can reach me, Bobby Parrish, at Truth is Hers. Athena is Athena Moberg at Athena Moberg. And together, Athena and Bobby, we are at the No More Shame Project, which is NMS Project, no spaces. Email, you can reach me, Bobby L. Parrish. Don't forget the L. Apparently there's another Bobby Parrish out there in Gmail, at gmail.com. Athena, I'm looking at your email address. Do you want me to read the Athena at athenamoberg.com? I know you've had some issues with that email account.
Oh, yes. I want to apologize to anyone that has been trying to reach me over the past 2 weeks. I have been having on and off again, problems with my Mac Mail, Apple Mail, the way that it connects to my Athena at athenamoberg.com email. I didn't realize that it was on the fritz, and I missed a lot of emails, and I'm just now getting them recovered off of my server. So I am getting it up and running, and it is okay to reach me via email, Athena at athenamoberg.com, or you can even just go to my website, athenamoberg.com, and there's a little contact form there. And I'm on Twitter or
yep,
Facebook.
If you have a problem, exactly. If you reach out to Athena and she doesn't get back to you right away, know that it's a continued email problem. It's not about you. So reach out to her on Twitter. If you friend her, you can DM her, or reach out to her on Facebook. Each of us have a separate Facebook page under our names, Bobby Parrish, Athena Moberg, and then together we have a Facebook page for the No More Shame Project. The hashtag, or as I love the way Athena puts it, little tic-tac-toe or the pound sign, No More Shame Project. And then our websites, nomoreshameproject.com, bobbyparrish.com, and athenamoberg.com. Between the two of us, I'd say that we're on social media almost round the clock because I'm in Texas, she's in Hawaii, we're 5 hours apart. So we're there. If you need us, reach out to us. We would love to connect with you. We would love to help you connect with other survivors, be in community with other survivors. And let's look really quick. I'll just put up the information about the chats.
Yeah.
So you can take a look at those.
I wanted to let them know really quick while you're getting that prepared, Bobby, that
yes.
As a thank you for being one of our loyal watchers and listeners and subscribers, we do want to make sure that you know about our downloads that go along with every single episode.
I forgot that.
Yeah, so as a thank you for being a loyal subscriber, watcher, or listener, you can go to nomoreshameproject.com/downloadables, or you can just click the downloadables button when you go to nomoreshameproject.com, and you can line it up with whatever topic you are watching or listening to. Yep. It is right there for you. It loads onto your phone perfectly. It fits your iPhone screen. It fits your tablet, your iPad, your Kindle. It'll fit whatever it is that you have. And it goes right along with what we talk about on the podcast or the videos. So we just wanted to make sure you knew that that was a complimentary resource for you as a thank you for being a loyal subscriber, watcher, or listener. Go for it, Bobby.
And we've talked about this several times tonight, but just as a reminder, we have 2 community activities every week. There's the Twitter chat, Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And for all of our UK listeners, unfortunately, 2 a.m. Wednesday morning, right? Right,
Thursday morning.
The Twitter chat, though, would be Wednesday morning. Okay.
Oh, the Twitter chat is Wednesday morning,
right?
And the live show is Thursday morning.
Okay. And then the Google Hangouts Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and you can watch them on our Google Plus page, the No More Shame Project, or on our YouTube channel, the No More Shame Project. They live stream to both, and then they upload to our YouTube channel. So you can go at any time to our YouTube channel and review any of them, pick the topic that works for you. Pretty soon we're going to start putting out a lot more videos. Not all of them are going to be of this length. They might just be 10 or 15 minutes, but they're going to be of things. And let us know if you have a topic that you want us to talk about.
I'm going to start recording little 2- and 3-minute videos as well, addressing people's questions and topics that they want. Because I find that those are ones that I tend to watch on YouTube. If I have something that I have a question about, I do watch those little 2- and 3-minute videos quite often.
You bet. So hit us up and let us know what you need information about. And if we don't know, we'll look it up and we'll find it for you. Because that's why we're here.
That we are here for you. That is the whole purpose that we are here, because we want to provide you with healthy, informed trauma recovery.
You bet. If you're triggered tonight, if you need some crisis help, RAIN is the best resource. You can reach them at 1-800-656-HOPE, H-O-P-E. See, I have it memorized. Or they have a live online chat feature at their website, RAIN, RAINN.org. That's our crisis resource that we always recommend. They're fantastic. We love them. Oh, hey, next month, No More Shame November.
No More Shame November. And we're planning our very first retreat. It's going to be last weekend in June on the West Coast in Washington, an hour outside of Portland, 2 hours outside of Portland.
Probably, and then it's actually right in the middle between Seattle and Portland.
Yeah.
So lots of resources, lots of things coming up. Let us know how we can help you. Let us know what you'd like to plug into, what you'd like to tap into, and get a hold of us. And have a wonderful week.
Yeah, we look forward to connecting with you next week. Thank you so much, everyone. And this is Athena Moberg and Bobby Parrish, and we look forward to connecting with you. Aloha.
Bye.